Oh, so this is the Walking Dead crossover everybody was guessing about. Guess they were right. Wait a minute. Does that say, hey! No, don't you say it. Don't do it. Say what? I wasn't going to say anything. You know what you were going to say. You were going to say that dumb joke that's overdone about reading the door wrong. I wouldn't do that. Oh yeah, sure, bud. Oh, I think we both know the kind of jokes you like to make. So do us a favor. Keep it to yourself this time, okay? Okay, I won't. Do you promise? Promise. Okay. Don't dead open inside.
Told you!
Ah! Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to another commentary video. It's been a bit since we've made one of these since, you know, all knew how the last one went. Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyways, though, I do have some important things that I want to talk about today, since I've had some players reaching out to me personally to cover some of the, not so savory changes that have been made so far during this PTB. We're talking like literally xenomorph nerf levels of changes that, you know, can't come to pass, or skull merchant level changes. Hopefully not to that extent, because if that happens, that means it's not going to be changed for years after the fact, so that's not good. But the TLDR is there's a lot of changes coming through that a lot of character mains are very worried about, and those people reached out to me, so I am going to make a video about those primarily, but there'll be a little bit of sprinkling of other stuff in here. It's kind of weird how the Walking Dead chapter came out, and somehow the Walking Dead characters and their perks are not the most interesting thing about this. If anything, they're kind of like underwhelming or only abusable in Swift. At least the character designs are cool. Yeah, I've been rambling enough so far. Let's go ahead and talk about the major issues that exist in this PTB. Actually, I'm kidding. First off, we're going to talk about the positives, because I feel like this is going to be mostly a negative video, and I kind of want to get some of the good stuff in the PTB out first, because there are some diamonds in the rough here, and I want to be fair. I want to say the first of these strong dubs was actually the pig, which is weird because usually behavior just kind of nerfs the pig. The pig actually has a faster dash now, and crouches faster as well. And this actually makes her feel pretty great. I played her for a few games, and actually feels like you kind of have like a subtle chase power now, which is really, really nice. It feels like she's actually starting to break that mold of strictly being an M1 killer, and that's it. Also, another massive dub is the Pyramid Head changes. There's a massive dub across the board, actually. They did both an add-on change and did some base kit changes, all of which are fantastic. The add-ons that they made for them are great too. They're hilarious. My favorite was the Seal of Metatron. That's the one that the more you draw your trail, the longer you can actually shoot your M2. I got to the point where I was able to like shoot these really, really long expanses across maps. I got one game that I played on Forgotten Ruins, and I swear I got an M2 that went like most of the length of Forgotten Ruins. Forgotten Ruins is a small map, but it still felt crazy to be like sniping people like a third of the map's length as Pyramid Head. It was glorious. Also, another one that I liked a lot was the VHS tape, because one of the critiques I've often had about Pyramid Head is that his M2, his Punishment of the Damned, is a little bit too reactable. In a lot of cases, it feels like you can kind of shoot it and it's so slow to come out that they can react to it very well. But the VHS tape makes this come out even quicker, so those people that even have good reflexes, if you aim well, you're probably just gonna hit now, which just feels oh so good. A lot of his add-ons were made base kit, or at least partially base kit. He has base kit increased range, he has base kit increased duration. It's overall just a good time overall. If you are a Pyramid Head fan, you are eating right now, so that's pretty cool. Okay, but now this is where I got to get into the not so fun stuff, the not so great parts of the PTB. I need to get into these because these are relatively important, not only to the character mains, but there's also an accessibility issue that we're going to talk about as well. So the three main issues are going to boil down to this. Number one, Knight is getting gutted. Number two, Clown is basically being reworked, and not in a way that really helps. It kind of just neuters his skill expression, and he's basically just as unfun to face as he was before, so it doesn't even solve the issue they were going for. And third, the fog vials are annoying and honestly just an accessibility issue. So let's take it from the top. I talked to ZM Pixie, the famed Knight main, today, and she was extremely unhappy with these changes, calling for a full revert a la what happened to the Xenomorph when they were about to be nerfed with their massive changes. The main issue lies with the banner spawns for both Assassin and Jailer. These were nerfed massively. Jailer especially, because Jailer went from 10 seconds before their banner would spawn, going all the way down to a whopping 4 seconds. This essentially makes it to, unless you're using Carnifex, survivors are going to be able to reach the banner 9 times out of 10 and circumvent your chase power entirely. Reaching the banner used to be a reward for lasting long enough in chase, and now it feels kind of like a given unless you're using Carnifex, who actually got his banner increased by like a few seconds, which is weird. So 2/3 of your power is basically easily shut down because reaching the banner is no longer difficult at all. In addition, one of the most fun parts of playing Knight was occupying one survivor with a guard, then chasing another somewhere else. This was great macro play, and it was often skillful to be able to pull it off correctly. Now they just get the banner so quick that it's basically not worth putting the guard on cooldown because they're just going to chase for like 4 seconds and then just go back to the banner and just be safe. This gets even worse because in true behavior fashion, while they're trying to nerf your character into the dirt, they're going to give you some compensative buffs to try and not make you look at it too hard and hopefully think that there's at least some good aspects of it, some icing on the crap cake to make it worth it, but it actually doesn't help overall. With Knight, they buffed the acceleration and speed for casting guards, or creating guard paths rather, meaning that the infamous drop a guard playstyle has become the Knight's main form of gameplay once again, which is startling considering how much effort behavior put to remove that playstyle from the game. If you're confused with what drop a guard is, essentially Knight used to have this gameplay flow where he could drop a guard nearly immediately, meaning that no matter the length of the loop or what was going on, the Knight could initiate a double chase at any point with him and the guard whenever he wanted. So they tried to remove this, and with the acceleration changes and the speed changes, you can just do that again, which kind of defeats the purpose of everything they did. So it's not like survivors are going to like this Knight nerf either, because he's even better at the thing that they hated about him in the first place. So the TLDR is that this unhealthy Knight playstyle has been inadvertently encouraged, while the actual skillful and fun aspects of the character have been overall gutted. Just like with the Xenomorph proposed changes, this absolutely should not go through if I have not made that evident enough. If you guys have been paying attention, you already know that the Knight is not the only character that's receiving a proposed Xenomorph level nerf that almost came through, and that being the Clown. Haste bottles have been buffed by activating nearly instantly and guaranteeing value, and they also give you even more haste than on live. However, the hindered bottles have had their hindered effect lowered overall, and also the duration of the hindered is also nerfed, meaning that by the time the survivor actually leaves the hindered cloud, they're basically already free and back to normal, and it's like you didn't even hit them with the bottle at all. Additionally, the input buffer makes it hard to do bottle setups, which is kind of like the whole point of playing Clown. Like I mentioned, the whole point of the rework was that you use yellow bottles and purple bottles in tandem to do really, really good setups. This gave Clown a lot of skillful depth, and that's saying something for a character that's basically just an M1 killer at the end of the day. However, realistically, these changes only encourage you to use one bottle type per chase, and with how weak the new hindered bottles are, we know it's going to be the haste bottles that are used 99% of the time. And this haste bottle buff is just ridiculously mindless and stupid. I ran a full haste build on the PTB, and I'm not even kidding, I ended up with 30% plus haste buff regularly. I'm not kidding. I am not exaggerating. Furthermore, another thing I'm not kidding about is that at a certain point, I literally stopped breaking pallets. And once again, I'm not exaggerating. I literally started just leaving pallets up. There would be some of those pallets I would kick, like Shack pallet, right? Because Shack pallet is not really circumventable. But most pallets in the game, even standard jungle gym tiles or long wall jungle gyms, I would just leave the pallet up and just use my haste to circumvent the pallet. It was ridiculous. I just threw a yellow bottle, held W, threw a yellow bottle, hold W, etc., etc. And 9 times out of 10, this worked. This solved almost all of my situations. All I did was throw a bottle, hold W, and that was it. It was wild. And I'll probably be making a whole video about that because I really want you guys to go try and see just how much of, honestly, a blast and how stupid that is. So I wanted to get you in the PTB trying that, but we'll make that video after this one. One step at a time. Arnaud is a well-known clown man. You should probably know him for being the guy who wrote the Clown Guide. Very, very excellent educational person and probably the best master of clown that we have in the community. He was very, very extremely unhappy today, and I can honestly see why. The character was easily one of the most complex M1 killers, and his lengthy guide proved that. So to boil that down to just throw a yellow bottle, hold W, and that's just it. I mean, like, that's just a depressing state for the character. And once again, just like with the Knight changes, the haste buffs they're literally just as uninteractive as if you would hit them with the slow bottle and they were slowed and hindered so they couldn't make it to the next pallet. Now it's just the Clown is fast. It's like the same situation. It's the same lack of interactivity that existed before. So it's not like survivors are going to be having a good time with this new version of Clown either. So once again, just like with the Knight changes, these changes absolutely should not make it to life. And finally, we come around to the Fog Vials, an item that had been long teased since it just kept coming back event after event after event. It seemed like behavior was just chomping at the bits to shove this back in to every event as much as possible. So it was, you know, a foregone conclusion that at some point we're probably going to get it as a main fixture that never went away, and now here it is. And to be honest, now that it's here, it's not great. The fog vial is extremely annoying and frustrating to face, working on a charge system that leads to near constant use despite supposing to have a limit. Especially if there's a lot of them in a trial, you're essentially going to be running them almost every chase. And it seems like this adversely affects weaker killers more than it does strong killers. Because if you lose somebody in that little fog cloud for like 2 or 3 seconds and you're like, I don't know, blight, you just run them down once you catch them again and you're good, right? But if you're somebody like Ghostface, you had them marked and the marked only has like 2 or 3 seconds left, that's the difference between downing them and keeping your pressure or them making a pallet or window because they lost you for a second. It's not great. It basically makes it to where strong killers just go, oh, okay, well, that was kind of confusing. But now back to Chase, where M1 killers and the weaker killers in the game kind of have to face potentially a major setback and then have a rough game that snowballs away from them. And the more important part of this, and kind of like the main reason I take issue with the fog vials, just outside of like a balancing and game perspective, is that Behavior said that they've been taking accessibility issues more seriously and trying to do better with them. But the fog vials are like very much against that. The muffled noise that happens when the fog vial drops is extremely irritating and disorienting for players. Even the big DBD streamer Shy is even citing that she may quit or at least stagger out the playing of DBD because of this issue. This shouldn't even be new news for Behavior, since Hag's disfigured ear add-on has been long panned for its issues with its deafen status effects that kind of does a similar thing to that weird muffled thing that the fog vial does. But hey, that's still in the game, so should we really be surprised that they let this one hit the game? Either way, if they're actually like fully committed to this whole accessibility thing, leaning into it, trying to make sure that they don't have stuff like this in the game, the fog vial definitely falls under that category. So I definitely think that they should at least majorly adjust it, if not just remove it entirely, to be honest. This wasn't in my little listed summary that I did before we got into this, but at the end here, I do want to mention a lot of the perk changes are also very silly. Franklin's Demise isn't really a healthy perk for the game in the long term, in my opinion, but with how strong item use has become, I can see its niche and why it belongs in the game. So the fact that it doesn't perform its main job anymore of actually depleting the item charges is kind of silly. Furthermore, already strong gen perks are being buffed for some reason, like Potential, Energy, and Built to Last, despite the fact that there were players that already knew how to get the most out of these perks and often did to get matches done far quicker than is usual. They were, of course, a little more nuanced to something like Prove Thyself or Deja Vu, because Deja Vu is just see red, go to red, gen go faster. That's it. That's all it is. But a lot of people didn't use Potential, Energy, and Built to Last because it required a little more nuance. It required a little bit more input, but you know, but from Behavior's end, it doesn't look like these perks are being used a lot, so clearly they need a buff, which is just like, oh my gosh. What? I know the often accusation is like, do you play your own game? Which, you know, you can't expect devs to play their own game all the time, especially to the extent that we do. But that's why we have consultants. That way you have social media community managers, all this wonderful stuff that you should be getting that information from. I guess, you know, I feel like regardless, the main attractions of the bad things coming through with this chapter are definitely going to be the night changes, the clown changes. So I imagine these are probably just going to slip through and be also part of those do gens a little faster for minimal interaction category, because we absolutely need more of those. So yeah, like I said, this video was not going to be a very positive video, but also, like I said, a lot of character mains are extremely unhappy with the proposed changes, and a lot of them reached out to me to try and help push back against these. So hopefully this video helps spread awareness to hopefully get these changes reverted. Hopefully you guys are able to share the sentiment and lobby Behavior to not go through with these changes that ruin these characters, especially for the people that spend so much time mating them. In addition, I do see the fog vials being accessibility issues long term, so please spread the word on that if you can as well. On that, that's it for today's video, friends. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I made your day a little bit better today, and if I didn't, I'll try to do so again in the next video. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.